To be clear about that. And the reason it transforms is because somebody is trying to make it transform. It's worth transforming. So the phase 3 part that we're talking about is the transformation part, or the ending part. And that's the thing where people typically don't think about it, which is why we want to highlight it as part of the richness of this, is that if you take something like decoding the DNA, it started off with an exponential improvement in the ability to decode the DNA, but then they decoded the entire DNA, and that ended it. Now, there are other things that took place in terms of the economics of being able to look at an individual's DNA, but that original thing of trying to do it was an exponential process that blew past people's original projections, because everybody are bad about predicting the rate of the increase for that phase 2, and then they're really bad about thinking what happens at the end. That's a case where, okay, they ended that thing, but in general, they go through it either tail off or a transition at the top. So J curves by themselves are essentially bad, because they are essentially not paying attention to what takes place in the future. So those are the 3 phases. So we want it to be part of the language that we use as we talk about this, and then talk about the distortion that takes place. So we've got one of these topics to talk about here, which is the way we think about something, because the exponential bias is, it's really hard for us to think about exponential things. So now let's spend some time talking about the rice on the chessboard. So it's an example that's used a lot. I'm going to presume that most of these people have heard of something about it. But let's unpack it a little. So the story is that the king or the leader or whatever, depending upon the country it came from, either India or Persia, wanted to reward a wise man for having done something very wise for him, and then asked for this gift of, 1 rice for the first one, then double for the next one, then double for the next one. And the king agrees to it. And then at some point realizes that, he actually can't fulfill it.
Right.
So in terms of a story, though, the story sort of stops at that point, and in that story, the king either kills the wise man or says how clever he is and gives him another reward.
Right.
All right. So, and they're both fine ways of telling the story. And then then in terms of explaining to other people, they say, well, if you take it to the 64th square, then it would cover the earth in rice 4 feet deep. And I don't know what the actual numbers are. And we'll actually clarify that as we get close to it. So that's just to show how extreme it is. But that's not the important question for us. So it's really interesting to understand how extreme it is when you go to the 64th square. The more important question is, when do you figure out you've really got a problem? All right, so that's an important question. And it's sort of like, when they come in at some point and say, sire, we've just emptied all the storerooms of rice, and we're only at the, 30th square or something like that. So that then initiates some other thing that's going to happen, either for the wise man, either very positive or very negative.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it can't continue. It's when do we realize it? And the realization also includes the fact that if we go much farther, we literally can't do it. And when you say it fills the earth at 4 feet, then it's